Okay, so like I mentioned before, please take or leave any of this at any time. And today we're overviewing the reptilian agenda, the GFL agenda, and basically overall, where is humanity at and what do we need to know as a whole? We have so many different characters to ask and play upon. I am so intrigued at who's going to come through today. And my intention for today, as always, is to give you the right amount of knowledge that is going to help you unlock an aspect of your DNA and essentially raise your vibration to live your best life possible. And for whatever reason, something just popped into my mind, which was like tangible advice, right? So something that's tangible, something that's applicable. Like maybe that's another focus that we need today is everyone's feeling the new moon energy. Everyone's feeling overwhelmed and chaotic. I think it's important for us to also get maybe some tangible tips and advice from the Galactic Federation members for all of us today, because, you know, we really need it. I mean, I know I really need it at this time. Awesome. All right, so without further ado, let's just tune in to the group, to the vibes, to the energy, and see what needs to come out first. There's no real order to this, so I've got my rebirth cup going on. Used to be a candle. All right, 1 second, everyone. Interesting. Okay. So right away, I'm going up to the Galactic Federation mothership, astral traveling over there. And I'm being directed to, how do I say it? The command center, kind of like the office of the ambassador, not the ambassador of the Galactic Federation, but the ambassador of the Greys, actually. What's really beautiful is I have like a personal connection with this being, with this Grey in particular. And it's a female, I guess, like they're kind of asexual, but definitely feminine energy. And years ago, it was like long before I was ever even on YouTube, I was communicating and I was called to the GFL mothership one day. I think this was back in 2013, 2014. And they asked me to basically give an interview to 3 of the top candidates to be the new tall gray ambassador for the Greys. And the Greys work specifically very closely with the Galactic Federation. And I'm talking about the good Greys. There are bad Greys and many other species of gray. So it's kind of difficult to discern. I mean, it's like such a, you know, your skin color is gray, so we're going to call you gray. Like it's such a basic term. I really should figure out like a more specific species title, but either way, I ended up interviewing this girl. She was very young, way too young, but there was some corruption within the gray government system, I guess. So the ex-ambassador was taken off that position and they were hiring someone else. So I was a part of kind of hiring her. She does have a name. And the name comes through. I just have to write it down. It's yeah. The name comes through as Yayanda. She also likes going by Ya, like Yayanda, and then or Yaya. She's a very spunky energy, and so immediately I was drawn to her, and I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. You know, what's going on? And obviously she's like way taller now and like super grown up, and she has a message for all of us. And I said, what's your message? Like, this is such a pleasant surprise. And she said that it was regarding the hybrid children. So the Greys, specifically them, they are in charge of the new generation or the new species that are going to be coming to planet Earth that are half human, half gray, and they are the Essassani beings. If you guys know Bashar, the channeler Bashar, he is an Essassani. He's a half gray, half human. So really amazing. So I asked her, I said, what do we need to know about the Greys that are coming to planet Earth? And she said, well, there's a bit of an issue. And the issue is that these gray Essassani hybrids are advancing rapidly. And it's really funny, but it's not. Human beings are not advancing as quickly, right? And this is an issue, because if these Greys come to planet Earth, or these hybrids come to planet Earth in their full true form, mind you, they do look very human, but we would probably all look at this Grey, hybrid and say, that's an interesting looking human. Maybe they were born with some sort of defect, right? We would all kind of see the difference. The problem is that, their intelligence, even their speed, their movements, them working with technology is all like, it's almost getting to a point where it's way too advanced for us. So she's basically concerned, as this, Gray ambassador, GFL representative, that humans aren't moving fast enough. And I would 100% agree with her that this will be an issue in the future if we don't tackle this. So speaking about those tangible tips, how do we, as the small, core cohort that we are, at this community that we are, I would love to enlighten, 8 billion people on the planet to how do you, accelerate yourself rapidly, but we've got us. How do we all accelerate to a point where we're unlocking more than 10% of our brain capacity, more than 10% of our DNA capacity? And how do we unlock the best traits and qualities within us to get to a point where we can compete, in a sense, even though there's no competition, or at least be at the same similar level with these new hybrids coming to planet Earth? And this is, still 30, 40 years away, but definitely this is coming up now for a reason. And I think we can keep up. It's just how. So let me go ahead and ask her, how we can basically accelerate as human beings. So 1 second. Interesting. Okay, I like this. This is similar to things that I've talked about before, but it's definitely posed in a very different way. So at first she said many things. So she was talking about meditation, quieting your mind. She was also talking about a very clean diet as well. Of course, take or leave anything these beings say, right? Because everybody is different. And so, so she was saying all these really intense things. She was basically alluding to, let's all quit our jobs and remove ourselves from society and like go meditate at a monastery for the rest of our lives, And I told her straight up, I said, look, like, that's just not the reality. Like, we're still paying bills and we're still like dealing with bullshit basically on this planet. Like, we can't just commit ourselves 100% to being clean and pure energetically and physically, and so she understood that. And this is what she said. Oh yeah, this is really cool. She said that if all of us can remove ourselves from the matrix more often during our day. And so I said, okay, cool. So what does that mean? Right? Like, what are we doing? Like, bye-bye Matrix. I'll be back in an hour. Like, what is that? Like, we're here, like we're in our body. So then she said, oh yeah. anything that distracts us, and the other words that she used was, yeah, any distraction that we have, anything that we're doing in our day that feeds into the system of this reality is feeding into the matrix. The problem is that the matrix as we know it is third dimensional. It is rooted in fear. It is rooted in limitation. It is rooted in space and time. It's 3D. Anytime any of us are sucked into things that are rooted within the matrix, we kind of get brought down to a level. What I teach is take something that you have to do, that you have an obligation of doing, like paying the bills and making money, and raise the vibration of the thing that you're doing. What she's suggesting, which is also relevant, but what she's suggesting is escape from the matrix, even just once a day. And what she showed me, which was tangible and nice, is taking a bath, right? That's just an example. I personally don't have a bathtub, so, little teardrop, I can't do that. But, that's just an example of how we can escape the matrix. If you think about it, us being in a bathtub for an hour, for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it may be, time doesn't exist, space doesn't exist, distraction doesn't exist. Really, anything outside of the walls of that bathroom that you're in, out of the tub that's cocooning you, does not exist. That's an example of escaping the matrix. As long as you're not sitting in the bathtub on your phone, scrolling through social media, having a panic attack, trying to answer emails. Don't do that, okay? Don't escape the matrix to get pulled back in, all right? So anything really that does not involve space and time and distraction, that is helping us escape the matrix. The more often we can escape the matrix and not get pulled into distraction and karmic creation and reaction and action and all of that shit, is the time that we can really raise our frequency and work with our other extrasensory abilities. I think the biggest problem that most of us have is we just don't have the time, or we don't create the time to not be in time. Do you see how much of a paradox that is, right? But it's so true. We don't do that. Okay, so that's really great advice. That is super awesome, tangible advice about how do we accelerate? How do we keep up with the advancement? Let's see if she has anything else she wants to mention about what we can do as human beings rather than quitting everything, and moving to a monastery. 1 second. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so she does have one more piece of advice, and then we'll move on and see what else is going on. Okay, she was talking about other modalities. And what she said was, other modalities, or just, I think she was just talking about distraction again, okay? But she's saying that we're getting to this point where if all we want to do is Reiki, and all we're doing is learning from a Reiki practitioner how to do Reiki, we're not trusting ourselves. And I told her, I said, but what if someone has the intuition that they really want to do energy healing, and they do a little bit of research on energy healing? Like, is that going to be detrimental? Like, what's the point? Like, what's the healthy boundary there? Because we do have access to information outside of ourselves that can be relevant. And she basically said, just don't close yourself off to any one thing in particular. So this is a time where we all need to be open to infinite possibilities. So if you're interested in energy healing and then Reiki popped into your life, it doesn't just always all have to be about Reiki. Okay, if that makes sense. So she said that you really have the time, take the time to listen to your intuition rather than to give that power away to a teacher. That's really important, no matter what it is. So say, for example, if you're like, I want to learn everything that there is to learn about angels, put it out there to the universe and say, all right, universe, what do I need to learn about angels today or this week or this month? And then all of a sudden the right articles, the right conversations, the right friends, the right people, the right whatever comes into your life. And then you're open to receiving it all, rather than I'm going to take a course, or I'm only going to work with this angelic oracle card deck to get my answers about angels. She's just, because it's hard to kind of find the balance there, but mostly she's really referencing the listening to yourself and leaving it open. And then she also mentioned too that we can all really progress rapidly by what was it? Oh yeah, by setting an intention per month to say, what do no, this is what it is. I'm open to learning something new this month, right? I'm open to receiving, new knowledge this month. So it's just like setting the intention to be open to learning or open to receiving is really important in general. And then you open the floodgates to actually bring things in. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. All right. Thank you so much, Yaya, for coming through. It was so nice just connecting with you again. Let's move on. Let's see what else needs to come through. So that's kind of more of a Galactic Federation update. Let's see what else needs to come through at this time. Just leave it totally open. 1 second. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so Timothy came through. I'm glad he did. He's so lovely. For those of you who have never been to a GFL meeting, or maybe you missed the ones that Timothy has been a part of, Timothy is an Essassani being. All right, there you go. Like now we've got him in the mix. He's half gray, half human. He's young, like he's around 12 years old, but he's pretty tall for a 12-year-old. And he's just very logical, analytical, and he observes everything. And so I'm like, oh, hey, Timothy. No time for small talk, apparently, with Timothy. He went right to the point. I would say, like, if I were to diagnose him, even though, diagnoses, he would be like Asperger's for sure, or like, he's just very much that way, just A-type. And this is what he said. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, I've been making some observations. And I said, oh, what have you been observing? And he was starting to talk about basically the systems on planet Earth and how they're going to be shifting. Okay, so Timothy's talking about the shifting of the systems on planet Earth. And literally, he was talking so fast telepathically that I'm just trying to get the first little part of what he's talking about. And he's already like 2 books ahead of me. And I had to stop him and I said, Timothy, like, you need to slow down. I'm a human. I'm trying to like process all the things and I can't keep up. And he got frustrated with me. Eye roll. And I said, and he tried to slow down and he was still going way too fast. And then I told him, I said, can you give me what you're trying to say in images? And he did. He was able to. He's talking about the environmental, the scientific, the even like the weapon, like I guess government, political, but weapons. Like he was talking about even like nuclear weapons, and how all of these, he's been observing all of these systems on planet Earth. And he's kind of made it his mission. And now he's updating different councils on his observations, which is great because that's exactly what he needs. And his observations have been around how are we going to manage these systems in the new energy, and how are we going to transition them to, let's call it 5D, so that it benefits everyone? And I said, that's a great question. And that's, I'm glad that someone's on it. He said that the Galactic Federation has been thinking about this for a while and that there are multiple councils related to system changes. Great. I'm glad these things are in place. Here's what he said, because I asked him to explain, yeah, how is that going to happen? Like, these are huge systems that all have to freaking collapse to change. And so here's what he said. He said that there are people, individuals, who have solutions to the systems, who have been watched and also given specific instructions. Like, it's almost like all of these people have been told, whether it be telepathically, through a dream, through someone that they're working with, to slow down or to hold back for the time being. Like, it's like all of these people are in a holding pattern right now for when it's go time. And two of the systems that I saw for sure that he was talking about were environmental. So environmental solutions, free energy technology. It's been out there for a while. Renewable resource technology, right? But also he was talking about economics, the economy, and the solutions in place. And he was talking about like encryption and like global currency, and like a currency reset. And once again, there are people out there that have the right solutions that have been told to hold back. And what was he saying about? Oh yeah. Then he said that at a certain point in time, and I'll have to kind of get more details on this, but he said at a certain point in time, when these people are going to be initiated to build the new system, they are going to be given money, like lots of money, to fund their ideas and to fund their ideas, I guess. And I said, who's going to give them money? And he said, Timothy said, he's like, how there are really wealthy people on this planet who are super corrupt? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, there are really wealthy people on this planet who are working for the Galactic Federation, and they've been keeping a really low profile for a while. And I said, amazing. And he said, those are the people who are going to fund these individuals. So cool. So I'm like, all right, awesome. So yeah, so everyone's in a holding pattern. It's great that he's observing this. He's been, I think every month we talk to him, he's on to something else, which is cool. I'm going to ask him, okay, what should hold on. I had it. What do we need to do to prepare for the new systems coming in? I think that's important. And, oh yeah, and then timelines. Please, Timothy, be the only GFL member that actually gives us a timeline for this. And I know he's going to be coy about this because timelines are kind of difficult. They're kind of impossible, just because timelines can and do change all the time, as we know from G and the Octurian Council. So let me ask him those two questions. Is there anything tangible in it for us? Like, what do we need to do to kind of prepare for the inevitable shifts in the system? We're all going to be here. It's going to be in our lifetime. And then do we have timelines for those shifts? So one second. Exactly. Okay. All right. So, oh yeah, he was giving me this image. It was really fascinating. I don't really fully know what he was referencing. He gave me an image of two Earths, and it was so interesting. He showed me this image. It was a metaphorical image, but the two Earths were side by side, and they were collapsing, like they were like hitting into each other. There was no explosion or anything. It was like they were overlapping and then separating and overlapping and separating. It almost feels like it's like a magnetic pulse to the planet and to the new Earth. And they're just weaving in and out. And I was just like, story of all of our lives, right? 5D, 3D, 5D, 3D. It was like nonstop, right? So it's like, it's so, and he was just showing me that. And then he was telling me about like natural disasters that were coming into play with the pulsing of the earth. I don't know if this is like an electromagnetic thing. Like, I'm not sure what he was very coy on that. And I even asked him, he didn't tell me. So yeah, but he was talking about like things like earthquakes and weather phenomenon and like different weird things with the pulsing of the two earths coming together. Take it or leave it. So that's, and then he did bring up a timeline, but he was not specific on what the timeline was all about. He told me, I don't even know if he like let it slip or whatever, but, and then he just told me, he's like, I don't let things slip. I'm like, okay, cool. He said 2023. He never referenced what was going to go down in 2023. So there we have it. And what else? What else? He said, I said, what else do we need to do to prepare? And he said, we need to be self-sufficient. That's the key word there. Those are the words that he used, and it was very clear, self-sufficient. He said, even if you're in a big city, make sure that you've got, things that we need to survive, food and water and, a backup, maybe a little propane heater to cook food in case, right? So you don't have to like move or do anything drastic, and I told him, I said, this is the same information that I've been getting for a while. This is a just in case, but he's mentioning this too. So he said self-sufficiency. And I said, for how long? Like, how long should we be expecting to be self-sufficient for? And he said, for up to 3 months. And I said, why 3 months? And he said, because that's gonna be about the time that it takes to initiate the new infrastructure. And then it was really cute because like after he said initiate the new infrastructure, he started going on and on and on about how, I guess he's just really pumped about it, how everything is going to, he was even talking about like free energy technology and how that was going to be initiated. And he was saying that we can use the current like wired infrastructure to use the free energy. So he said, we're creating all of these solutions right now that are going to be a seamless overlap into the systems that we currently have, but they're going to be completely different than anything we've ever seen. So, and I was like, okay, Timothy, okay, could you just slow down and stop? Thank you so much. Because he just wanted to go into all the details and the techie stuff. And I'm like, I literally can't, I don't even know. But it was cool. He was excited about it. So maybe that's his thing. Maybe that's his passion. Maybe that's what we call upon him moving forward, is the system integration. He would be like a systems integration officer for the GFL. That'd be pretty dope. I don't know. So thank you so much, Timothy, as always, for being here and just being so knowledgeable. Yeah, awesome. Okay, good. A little bit of, information for humanity, a little bit of information from the GFL. Let's maybe turn our focus to the reptilian resistance movement. What's going on? Let's tune into Sasha. I mean, the whole Prince Philip thing. Can we get anything more about that? Man, the dream that I had last night, like, that was really intense. All right, 1 second. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yep. Okay, so I have Sasha here. For those of you who don't know, Sasha is actually, to tell you the truth, Sasha is a parallel version of Sharma. I don't know if I ever told you guys that. Sharma and I have been working with Sasha for years now. And I used to go around to different reptilian bases and blow them up with white light with Sasha. So she's it's this reptilian being who's a reptilian rebel, and she fights against her own kind, but not even just her own kind, just corruption in general on this planet. She's amazing. She's a badass. And it was, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago, where I literally was talking to Sasha just in a channel. And I'm like, oh my God, you really feel like Sharma, like your essence feels so much like Sharma. And then I like literally saw that they were the same soul. And I'm like, oh my God, you are Sharma. And it was amazing. And it was so cool. So that was a great aha moment. She's fantastic. So I went over to her. I'm like, what's the deal? What's going on? Last year, if you guys have been up to date, you'll know that there is a huge reptilian army underground ready to rebel against their own kind above ground. So cool. They should have done it back in December, and they didn't. They held back. And so I tuned into Sasha, and I'm like, what's going on with the reptilian rebel movement? You know, she showed me the image. The troops are still all underground. They're getting restless, but they're also patient. They're ready to rebel at any time, but they're still getting held back. There's still this holding back. And so I asked Sasha, I said, why is the army holding back? Like, she's kind of the commander of the army, the rebel movement army. But I'm like, why are you guys holding back? Like, why aren't you just going for it? What's happening? And she said, and I feel like, I don't know if this is in a private conversation that I had with her a little while ago, or if this was public in a GFL channeling, but she said, um, oh yeah, that the inner workings of the evil, let's call them, I don't like the word evil, like the bad reptilians on this planet, the inner workings, basically she said a while ago to, in a conversation, that they were going to, there was a potential that there's mutiny, and that they actually go after each other, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're so dark, and negative and low vibrational, and you're just with a bunch of dark, negative, low vibrational, greedy, selfish souls, eventually they're going to turn on each other. And right now, this is what Sasha said. Now that like things are really like bubbling up to the surface, and things are like unraveling and getting exposed, and the truth is coming out, they're going after each other. There's no one else to blame. There's no one else to project. It's them and them. So she said that the army is holding back. The rebel army is holding back to kind of see how this all unfolds. And then someone in a YouTube membership Q&A asked the other day, or the other week, when the reptilian rebels fight against the corrupt ones on the planet, will we as human beings see anything in the news? And Sasha came in with that question, and she said, actually, I have something to say about that. And she said, you will, as long as you're fine-tuned. Now, I probably won't notice it because I don't watch the news, right? But she said that you will start to see, and she actually referenced Epstein and Weinstein and the whole kind of disgusting stuff that was going on with them. These sorts of stories and exposures will start to unravel and make mainstream news. So whenever we see that in the mainstream, it means that all of the tiers underneath, all of the layers of protection and the bullshit to protect these people who are large and in charge and celebrities and in the face of the public, who are also very corrupt and shapeshifters, all of that protection layer is all going to crumble when the rebels fight against, and all of this exposure is going to happen. I have a pretty confident feeling that all of this exposure is going to happen, and it's starting to unravel and happen in 2020. And when I did the 2020 channel at the end of last year, one of the biggest things that came up was corruption and exposure, and I feel like it's starting. So this is all good news. So they're kind of waiting. They're in a holding pattern themselves, waiting to see how they go against each other. That would be the best sort of collapse, is they collapse themselves. Makes sense. Let me ask her about Prince Philip, and if there's anything significant within that she's been witnessing and observing that we need to know, because that's like, that's like a reptilian horde right there, So I'm sure she's been on it. Right. Okay. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Ooh, Ooh, yes. Okay, cool. Yes. So good. All right. Okay, so first of all, she said, I've been observing and watching, obviously, the royal family for a while, because that's like the head honchos of the reptilian, you know, corrupt elite on this planet. She's like, I've been watching them for a while, but I've never been able to get in. I've never been able to like intervene. I've never been able to basically, you know, whatever, inject myself in there. And she says, now we're able to do that. Now we're able to infiltrate. She used that word again. And she said, I was there. She's like, I was listening to your Q&A this morning, and I'm so glad that, and I don't know if maybe she even gave me the idea of us all coming together and basically trying to take down the system, but she has more information on that as well. So the infiltration, us coming together, she's going to be there with us too, especially doing that, infiltrating. And what else did she say about that? It was so interesting. Oh yeah, she said that there are reptilian beings, okay, who only had allegiance and alliance to Prince Philip, right? And they were all like dukes and heads of state and, you know, the bougie class. And she said that all of these people who were committed with their alliance to Prince Philip are now kind of in this place where they're like, I don't know if I really like Queen Elizabeth, you know, or whatever her reptilian name is. I don't really know if I have allegiance to her. So here we go. Here's the vulnerability within the system. If half the guards of Queen E were for, you know, Prince Philip, and they're like, I don't really know if I want to protect her. I think that Queen Elizabeth, being this like huge reptilian leader, is so evil, like so corrupt, so dark, that a lot of reptilians don't even want to follow her, even the bad ones, right? Like that's the vibe that I'm getting. So here we have it. It's the collapsing within the structure, within the system. So here's what would happen. Sasha's just telling me, if the reptilian rebel movement were to attack right now Queen Elizabeth, all of Prince Philip's guards would have to step up and defend, which means all of a sudden they're choosing a side, they're choosing an allegiance. They have to, it's like they have to protect Queen Elizabeth. And if the reptilian movement holds back a little bit, they're allowing the system to crumble from the inside. Right? So that makes so much sense. Like that's why they're really truly holding back. And this is all a part of it. So Sasha is saying that this is the perfect time to infiltrate. This is the perfect time to come together. The biggest thing that we need to know, and I think I'm going to set that up for tomorrow. I'll just have to feel out the energies. The biggest thing that we need to know about coming together and doing this like portal work and this like basically blowing up a huge rep base ourselves is protection and invisibility and cloaking for all of us. That's going to be really key for this, because this is going to be the biggest reptilian base probably on the entire planet. I'm just wondering, I'm like, is it the Vatican? For whatever reason, the Vatican really came up, because I know that's a crazy base as well. Let me just ask Sasha what she thinks about I forget what the word is, but like the palace of the royals and then the Vatican, because they're both pretty bad. And then there's Hollywood, which is bad. I just want to see like what's worse. I'm just so curious. What's the worst? Yep. It goes Vatican as being the worst. The castle, like I don't know what the castle name is, whatever. It's the castle in England. And then it's Hollywood. We've already transmuted Hollywood. I've done a ton of work on the Hollywood portal and like all of that stuff. That's already collapsing. Fantastic. Then we're going to be doing the basically the castle or whatever, the mansion this week. And then last but not least is the Vatican. Like if we get all prompted to take down the Vatican this year, like we really know stuff is changing, right? Like this energy and vibration is changing. That's huge. Okay. I feel like that's everything from Sasha. Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive. Ah, so good. Oh my goodness. Okay, thank you so much, Sasha. Let's move on. Let's see who else wants to step through um, with any information that we need to know right now, even tangibly. Interesting, interesting. Okay, okay. Okay, great. So I've got an angelic being here. It's funny because I really felt strongly that I needed to wear the angelic mala, and then this morning in the Q&A, we went into all of the angelic information about what dimension they reside in and really who they are. I'm not surprised that they're so close, but they definitely have a very, very, very strong message for all of us. This, I believe her name is Leah, Layah, I believe. Lauren, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but it's fine. And she feels like this beautiful angelic mother. She's not an archangel, she's just an angel, but she feels like she's like a very nurturing, like motherly type of figure within the angelic realm, and very soft, very beautiful, very kind vibration. She has a message for all of us. She was talking about all of these angelic forces coming to the planet. So the first thing that she said was, make sure that you're telling people or letting people know to call upon us at this time. And I said, okay, I'll make sure that they know to call upon the angelics, right, at this time. And I said, why now? And she said that there is like this huge, like, I see, what is it? Is it thousands? It's more than thousands. It feels like it could be like, yeah, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but tens of thousands of angels are coming from higher dimensions to this planet to help us out at this time. And so she said that I don't know if they were doing some research or observation, or maybe it's just the vibration that we're all in. But right now, she said that there is a higher transmutation rate of moving from 3D to 5D if the angelics work with us at an individual level. So she was saying that up until this point in time, most of the angelic beings that have been around this planet, which has been a lot of beings for a long time, they've been around for a while, they've been working with the planet as a whole. So then I asked her, so are all of the angels who are working with the whole planetary system and Mother Gaia stopping to do that and starting to work with us at an individual level? And she said, no, they're going to continue to work on the planet at a collective level because we still need that. And then all the other ones are coming to work with us at an individual level. So it's almost like we're all gaining access to, only if we ask for it. So please ask for it, and I'll ask her how we should ask for it. But it's like we're all gaining access to a brand new spirit guide who is going to help us in our ascension. And it's funny because who is it that's coming through? It's the first being that we spoke to. Oh yeah, Yaya is coming through. She's popping in again, and she's saying, that's going to be a big asset to us as far as catching up to the hybrids, is working with these angelic beings and being able to gracefully and easily move into a higher frequency. And they're going to help us move into that higher frequency, these angels. So let me ask Leah how we can all tap into these angelic beings and basically call them in individually to help us transmute. And maybe just like collectively, what's the energy going to feel like when they come and as they come? Okay. 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 Okay, great. Here are the words. I am ready to receive assistance from my new angelic guide. I am ready to receive assistance from my new angelic guide. And she was also explaining that every angelic guide that we get is going to be very attuned to our specific vibrational frequency. And then to answer the question of how is it going to feel when all of the angels come to the planet, it's funny because there was this energy and essence of calm, but then there was this energy of like, it's the calm before the storm. And then I saw that there are specific, like, I call them rebel beings on this planet. Like probably a bunch of you are rebels, like screw the man, like let's, stand up and say no and resist, right? So all of the rebels are going to be getting a warrior angel. And the warrior angel is going to help you in your rebel mission at this time, right? To change the system, to stand up, to say no, which is amazing. So every angelic guide that you receive is going to be a specific essence that aligns to your highest vibration. So like I said, it's going to feel like a collective calm, but at the same time, it's also going to feel like we're all building up for the storm. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. And maybe that's what Timothy was referring to as the transitions of the system. I mean, you could only imagine the collapse of the financial system and what kind of fear and chaos that is going to lead everyone into, right, moving forward. So yeah, so fascinating. Okay. I feel like that's everything from Leia. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let's just clear the energy. Let's see if there's anyone else that wants to come through. Time just freaking flies. Like, I can't believe it's almost been an hour. Like, it's so weird, so bizarre. Let me ask, I want to just see if there's any other being that needs to come through at this time. And then I'm going to ask if there's like a group message for all of you at this time as well, because that's always really important. All right, 1 second. Okay. Exactly. Okay. Okay, exactly. Okay. So we've got a group message, and then we also have a message from one more being. I got the group message first because it's really like strong and really prominent, and we all need this message at this time, but I'll leave that for now. And I want to get to just the kind of like a final word from the Galactic Federation. This was from Kinetic, a part of the Palladian Security Council. And the overall energy when I tapped into the Palladian Security Council is like a really nice calm. Like, once again, it might be a calm before the storm, but it was just the vibration of the room just felt very settled, like very like, yeah, like everything's going the way it needs to. And that's exactly what Kinetic mentioned, like verbatim, was everything is exactly the way it needs to within the Galactic Federation, and also within planet Earth. Everything is going exactly the way it needs to. So that's really important. And it felt like just a very calm, settled energy. Doesn't mean tomorrow is going to look the same, right? But here we are. And what else did he say? There was something else. Oh yeah, he just said the biggest thing throughout all of the systemic and all of the individual changes that are happening at a rapid pace level with each and every one of us and at a collective level is just maintaining a high vibrational frequency. That's the biggest thing that we all need to keep in mind, is just navigation and that good vibration. And it doesn't mean to bypass things to say, I trust in the universe and I'm not going to feel this terrible feeling right now. It means feel the terrible feeling in the moment, and observe it objectively long enough to allow that feeling to leave. And just as I'm kind of saying that, I do want to let you guys know, it was a couple of nights ago, I mean, almost every night, actually, I've had intense anxiety going to bed. I don't know what it is. Like, it's not even like I have a huge project and I'm behind on something. It's just been an intense amount of anxiety. And I feel it like, it's just like this ball, this hard ball, and there's like nausea in the pit of my stomach almost every night. And recently what I've been doing and what I've been kind of taught to do by my higher self is to observe the knot in my stomach, to observe the nausea. And at first, when I observe it, it spikes, right? The sensation spikes. At first, when you observe a pain in your knee or your leg or a headache, it spikes. You're like, oh, this is even worse. Like I was better off distracting myself with Netflix than observing it, right? But then you take the time and you really surrender, you really let go of the reaction of the observation and the sensation. It took me, I want to say probably 25 minutes, right? So it was like maybe like 10 minutes into observing the anxiety and the nausea, and it went away. And I'm like, oh, great, it's gone. And then I distracted myself and it came right back up. And then when I observed it again, it took that much faster to get into a neutral place and to have it decrease the sensitivity. It took me about 25 minutes to fully get rid of my anxiety completely. Before, I would have slept on it. I would have tried to watch a nature documentary. I would have tried to burn some sage, do some white light. Now I'm just observing it and taking full responsibility over that sensation by being with it. Okay? Because if we distract ourselves from it at a human level, it will come back the next night. And honestly, since I did observe it, it hasn't come back. And that was just 2 nights ago, so I don't really know, but it's been a lot better. Okay, so that's just a helpful tip from my human to your human about what I've been doing recently, because the energies have been really, really intense. If you feel like crying, be with the emotion of sadness, right? Be with it, and it will neutralize, but we have to be with it or we're creating trauma that we got to deal with later on. And no one wants that. We don't want to create more karma. Okay, here's the group message. That wasn't the group message. That was just like a helpful tip. You know what? Let me get a little bit more imagery from the group message and then we'll go into it. So 1 second. Okay. So here's the image. As you know, most of my group channelings involve an ocean or water of some type. So here we go. We're back into the ocean. The ocean is a representation of the collective because we're all drops in the ocean and the ocean is all of us. So this is a message for everyone. But for this example, you are the ocean. You are the stormy, beautiful, eclectic, being that is the ocean. And here's the image that came to me right away. So bizarre, such a bizarre image. It's the image of the ocean and its expanse. And then there's a bottle. So weird. There's a bottle. Okay. And the bottle is empty. And instantly, so there's no cap on the bottle. It's just kind of floating there, empty in the ocean without a cap. And instantly, the ocean starts to fill the bottle. And then the bottle begins to sink. And I said, what is this image? Like, what am I even seeing here? Like, how am I supposed to make any sense of this freaking bottle in the ocean? Like, what does this mean? And it was then explained to me that the bottle represents obligation. All right. Just because there are things in our life and our reality that we feel we have to do doesn't mean we have to do them. Just because we have an empty space in our schedule, in our day, doesn't mean you have to fill it. Just because someone you love and care about really needs you doesn't mean that you have to give to them. Don't fill up the bottle just because it's empty, because all of a sudden that's going to weigh you down. All right. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything through obligation ever, because guess what? We live in a binary reality. We live in a limited existence. We have to pay the bills. We have to answer our emails. We have to communicate with our parents. Like, I mean, there are things that, you know, that we do have obligations within. So we can't just, you know, go meditate all day, right? Like we started this conversation off with. So then I asked, what's a good balance, right? Because we all have bottles to fill. We have bottles littering our ocean that we just want to fill up because that's how we were born. You know, that's how we were raised, is like fill the things that need to be filled. So the image then that I got with balance is you have the empty bottle, you have the ocean. The bottle doesn't have a cap on it, but it's floating. I know, probably not, you know, it goes against physics or whatever, but that's fine. When the ocean is stormy, when you're dealing with your own battles and your own challenges, don't fill up the bottle because you don't have the capacity in that moment to fill the bottle up. Deal with, observe objectively your own dynamics, your own emotions in that moment when your ocean is wavy. But don't fill up all the bottles in your life. That's not a good time to do anything other than be with yourself. A good balance is when you're calm, when you're content, when all of your needs are met and taken care of, and you've got this beautiful, expansive flow of infinite energy and connection, that's a great time to fill up the bottle. You don't even have to fill the bottle all the way. You could fill it up a little bit, put a couple of drops in every day. But the point is, we have to stop living through obligation. And this has really been coming up recently in my own life, but just in general, I think for everyone. Stop saying yes just because you can say yes. It's okay to not have an excuse as to why you don't want to do something. It's okay to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed and I just need my alone time, which is kind of ironic in a freaking giant pandemic quarantine, right? But that's okay. We're recalibrating. When we are able to go out into the rest of the world and be functioning citizens as maybe we were before everything hit and happened, we are going to be 10 times more sensitive. So don't feel bad or guilty that you need more time to process. Don't feel bad or guilty that you need more time to sleep or do nothing at all, okay? The worst thing you could do is doing something through obligation and guilt and fear. Feeling like I have to do this or else I don't feel good enough. All right, that's not where we're going. And you're lowering your vibration and you're sinking the bottle every time you do that. There is a healthy balance of how much you give and how much you receive. And it's time that we are all aware of what makes us ultimately happy and passionate and what makes us feel stuck and conditional and limited. And with that, I think this was great. I think there was a lot of information here, a lot of really good updates, a lot of some tangible things that we can take with us. And I think it's important for all of us to understand that we're here for a reason, all right? You were not put on this planet at this time just to live a simple life or to look at the four walls that are around you and say, yep, this is my existence. You were put on this planet for so much more, to really explore and expand and question and be and experience. And this is the time. So anytime your mind starts spiraling, anytime you doubt yourself, bring yourself back into the present moment and understand that you're exactly where you need to be. And just take that extra breath of fresh air, even if it's filled with chemtrails, and appreciate that we're here at this time. And with that, thank you so much. I love you all. Like, this community is such a blessing. It's been so amazing. I will see all of you next Sunday for the Q&A. And yeah, other than that, I think that's about it. Check out the discount codes that were sent in your email if you guys got this live. And have a beautiful and blissed out rest of your week. Bye for now, everyone.